Today, I'm joined by Jennifer Staats, the owner and founder of Staats Solutions, and I'm really excited to have her. She's not only a business owner, but also a mom and wife, and also somehow has time to do lots of hobbies, which we'll dive into. But thank you for joining me today, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So to start off, for those who don't know who you are, can you share a little bit about your background and how you originally entered the real estate space?
Yeah. So my name is Jennifer Staats, and I own a company called Staats Solutions. And currently, we run the operations of real estate brokerages and teams nationwide. And I have been in real estate for 14 years. I actually became an assistant when I was 20. I have no idea what made me get my license when I was 20 years old, but I ran with that and figured out I was really good at the operation side. I've been an active agent until about a year ago when I took myself out of production. So I've always been on the operations side, but I also really like the sales side too. But I decided to really just fully focus on Stat Solutions and its growth. And it's been really fun.
Yeah. How long, I'm sorry if you already said this, how long has Staats Solutions been around?
6 years. Yeah, 6 years. Stat Solutions was actually formed because I had a baby and I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. And we decided to move across the country. So I started Stat Solutions and it just took off because apparently virtual operations is something that is much needed.
Yeah, definitely. I know that that's very true. So, besides seeing a need in the market for operations, what ultimately led you to decide to start Stat Solutions? Did you have like one person? Like, how did you find your first client? How did
Yeah.
that evolve?
Yeah. So I was working at a real estate brokerage as an operations manager. Funny enough, I was an operations manager of both a brokerage and a aviation or an aircraft engine company. So I was running both. And I really liked what I was doing. I felt like I was really good at it. I really loved it. So I'm like, you know what? That's what I want to do. And I want to package that in a virtual option because I was moving across the country and I really didn't want a normal 9 to 5. So I just started reaching out to brokerages and just saying, like, broker owners and team leads, and just saying, like, is this something that like you could see happening virtually or fractionally? And they were like, yes. And so by the time we moved to Colorado, I think we had 5 or 6 clients. And from there, it's just grown.
So, operations is a big word. To kind of demystify what you do, what were some of the big challenges you noticed people and brokerages were facing that Stat Solutions addressed and addresses today?
Yeah, that's a great question because I feel like operations is this big like question mark. Like being an operations manager, everyone's like, what exactly do you do? Um, Kind of to like tell you what we do and like what our clients kind of like have us helping with is we help with the entire back end of a brokerage or teams. We kind of fill those holes wherever is needed. So if they have an office manager, we're happy to like jump in and fill the rest of the holes. So a lot of our stuff can be like broker compliance. We do a lot of system setup, onboarding and offboarding of agents. We do help with a little bit of recruiting. I don't really heavily advertise that, but we do help with a little bit of the recruiting side of it too. Training, we train transaction coordinators, set up their systems, a lot of management. So a lot of our clients don't love the management side or the hiring side. So that's kind of where we plug a lot of those holes, helping them bring on assistants, helping them bring on TCs, vendor partners. So, like with you, Elena, like we would go and help them kind of coordinate with you because I'm sure you see a lot of times broker owners don't necessarily always like dealing with all the systems set up and coordination with different companies.
Yeah, definitely. And besides training and bringing on TCs, if I'm not mistaken, like recently you also launched your own TC service. So if someone
Yeah.
wants
Mm-hmm.
just to say, "No, I just need the help," that's something you offer.
Yeah. So that's a pretty new service of ours within the last couple of months. We've traditionally always just trained someone's in-house TC, or we've brought on or helped them hire outside. We're now doing in-house transaction coordination, which is separate. So it's paid at close. So it's not necessarily part of our full-blown operations service, but we're doing that nationwide. And we kind of did that at the request of our clients. They really wanted us to be able to just do everything in-house. So operations, marketing, and transactions, so they can just come to one company and have everything under one umbrella.
Yeah. And I think the best way to describe your business is sort of like a fractional operations. A fractional, the idea of being a fractional business is kind of new. So can you share what that means?
Yeah. So by fractional, we can come on in any fraction that that client wants. So we have some team leads that they want us to do everything. So we have some clients that they have no other in-house staff. We are their full-blown operations and marketing staff. But we have other clients that maybe don't have the budget yet, or maybe they really aren't willing to like let go of certain aspects of it, or maybe they even have someone in-house that they really want to keep part of the role. And that's where we become, their fractional operations staff, and we just kind of figure out with them what our responsibilities are going to be. And some of our teams are smaller, they're not ready. They don't have the need for a full-time 40-hour-a-week person. So we can come on 10 or 15 hours and help them kind of manage and keep things going.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned earlier you wanted to kind of step away from having a traditional 9 to 5, but I'm sure the hours fill up quickly with clients. So how are you managing so many clients at once?
Yeah, I mean, currently we run about 20 brokerages and teams, so I can't do that all myself. And I do take Thursdays off to be with my kids. So I have a full-time staff that helps as well. So each of our clients are actually partnered with a team that works solely on their stuff. So they really get to know that person, and their agents do as well.
Yeah. So you do a 4-day work week. I'm curious, do any of your other staff do 4-day work weeks?
Yeah, so we actually provide our entire staff flexible hours. So we do something, it's a little different than your traditional 4-day work week, although they're allowed to do that if they want. So we do something called floor time. So because we are managing brokerages, we have to be available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Like we have to have someone available. But what we do at Stats is we do something that's called floor time, and about 50% of their allotted time for the week has to be on a schedule during floor time. So there's coverage. And the other 50% of it, they're allowed to work whatever they want. So a lot of our staff might either take one day off during the week to do a 4-day work week. Most of our staff actually just comes in earlier so they can get off a little bit earlier. But that really stemmed from my original want of just taking one day off to like have mom duties. And we've translated that into the rest of the staff.
Yeah, that's really nice. So what happens if you take on a brand new client? They're not quite sure exactly what they need help with, but they just know they need to offload somewhere. They can't take it on anymore. How do you onboard a new client? Do you do some sort of audit of their company and
Yeah.
figure out where the holes are, or can you explain what you do there?
Yeah, so we have a couple step approach. So a lot of times I get most of my information during the initial consult. Like before they've even hired Staats Solutions, they're rattling off all the things that they're having issues with. I'm listening to previous issues they've had with their agents, assistants, operations managers. Sometimes I'm actually listening to some of their admin on these calls, and I'm getting a lot of the information from there, right? Because that's really where you're seeing a lot of the holes, is that this happened, this got dropped, that type of thing. So from the initial call, I've already got a long thing of notes. And then when they do decide to bring Staats Solutions on, they might have a list of things that are top priority to them, but then we're talking about future goals. So we're saying, okay, your budget to hire us is this. This is how much time we have. Here are the priorities for, the next 30, 90, 180 days, and we're working on a plan together. And then while we're doing that, we're actually auditing their business for the first 90 days while we're working. So we go through a bunch of pillars that we feel are really, important within Staats Solutions. So like lead flow, systems, how is their recruiting working? We go through a whole long list. And then at the first 90-day mark, we go through that with the client. We say, here's what we've seen now that we've been in your business. And here's kind of our recommendations moving forward. Some of them we can't do because maybe they don't have the budget, or they just are like, that's just super not important to me. But we'll always just kind of table it till later, because we'll say, hey, I still think this is very important. And so we kind of get started with that. And then if they really don't know how to delegate, I'll put them through a couple exercises. One I call my yellow pad workbook exercise. And I just have them start jotting down everything they're doing to try to start delegating out, whether it's to us or if I'm helping them hire an assistant or a TC. A lot of that is just getting it out of their brain and onto paper so we know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we talked about this on our last call, and I'm sure in other times as well. Like some people just they are on their computer and they'll just pull up Zoom and record their entire day and then just say, okay, here's everything I do. And they'll send it to their virtual assistant to type out everything they do and kind of figure, okay, what can be passed on and what needs to stay with you. So I think that's a brilliant idea to try to just do an audit, because your role is constantly evolving as a business owner. So sure, you might delegate some things, but then you take on new responsibilities and you have to continually delegate that to either your company or to someone in-house. So you asked me a similar question on our last call. So I'm going to ask you, in your perspective, what has recently, or I guess, what's the biggest challenge people are facing, real estate agents are facing today?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this isn't really a new one. I don't think it's because of the market or anything like that, but I think a lot of agents have a really hard time delegating. No matter what stage you're at, right? Because I might talk to someone and they want to hire us as operations, and I'm like, I don't think you really need operational help. It sounds like you just need a transaction coordinator to start, to get things off of your plate. And they don't know all the things that they're doing, and they're not realizing where their time is spent. And so they don't necessarily know where to direct that. So I think that's probably one of the number one things I see, because a lot of us get into real estate and for some reason we're not thinking that we're starting a business, but we are. But we kind of just start selling and we get really good at it. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, like I actually started this thing. Like I have employees, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm making all this money. So they just don't know how to make that first hire. I think that's really the struggle. And there is so many options out there for agents, because there's so many different like tech things and hires you can make, and all you go to conferences and they tell you need to do these 10 other things, when really we just need to figure out what the money making activities are and what you can delegate out first so you can do more of the money making stuff.
Yeah, that's so true, because there's always a decision to be made of, okay, do I need to solve this solution with a tool or a person, and which one makes best sense for me. But that issue that team owners and real estate agents have of being scared to delegate, that's not just a real estate thing, that's just like an entrepreneur thing. With any business owner. It took me a year and a half, or almost a year and a half, to hire my first person. I was, I just didn't want to let go. It was hard for me to delegate and trust that someone else will be able to do the responsibilities I was doing. But I'm sure it's true for you as it was for me and for team owners, that they were able to do it better than me, because that's what they're dedicating their entire role to, versus me. I was only able to dedicate 5% of my time to it. So it's life-changing once you let go of the reins and hire help. So what's in the future for Staats Solutions? What are y'all working on? Or
I mean, we've got some really exciting stuff going into this next year. So we actually just started, we got approved the other day to be a coach with Investor. So that's really exciting. We're going to be more in the real estate investing space, and we're just going to be expanding. We've been really slow to grow. I'm really picky about the clients we bring on. I'm picky about the staff we bring on. So we've been, fairly slow to grow. We've still been doubling our business every year, but I still feel like that's still slow to me. And then we're going to be expanding our transaction coordination services for sure. That's been something we've just had clients like on the wait list waiting for it. And that's been really awesome to have it all in-house. So our clients are getting just some really amazing service.
Yeah, on that topic of being really particular in who you hire, just for keeping the standard high, I'm sure people are curious. Do you have any recommended avenues to go to find talent? Do you use a specific platform or company, or like a specific process?
Yeah, I do. So I 1000% only hire through WiseHire, and that is just basically like a hiring platform if anybody hasn't used it. And why it's so amazing is that you can put in, I've been using it for a while now, so I can kind of see a lot of history in there, which I really love and I geek out about. But for these team leads and stuff that are hiring often, agents, admin, marketing, all the things, you can put a job ad in there and it actually helps you draft it. It tells you what you should be paying based on the job title and the description. And it'll even help you edit it. So it'll say, hey, I would really rather you tweak this. You need to add these things. They'll actually kick it back to you because you have coaches. And it sounds like it'd be really expensive, but it's like $200 a month and you can pause it at any time. And it puts job applicants through a disc profile, and you can ask questions. So for me, when I post a job ad, I generally get a few thousand applicants within 24 hours.
Wow.
It is insane. So without WiseHire, I would have a heart attack. I could never go through it. But because it puts everyone through a personality test and I can ask screening questions, I can filter through those really quickly and I can disqualify the people that are saying, hey, yeah, I have no real estate experience. Well, I'm not hiring you if you have no real estate experience. And then if they have really poor personality traits. So I do that on the recruiting side too. Like we put all their recruits in there. And then what's fun about it is after using it for a while, it actually tells you this person is a bad fit for this position, but they're an excellent fit for this other position you have open. And then you can see that like there's a path for them to get promoted or that maybe they're actually better at marketing. And I can also see the history of what other positions they've applied for. So it's a red flag to me if like, let's say I have 5 positions open and I have like, I don't know, a virtual assistant position, and then I have like a sales manager position and they've applied to both. That's generally a red flag in my opinion. And I can see it right there in WiseHire, which I love.
Yeah. A couple years ago, I took the Myers-Briggs personality test, and that was an eye-opener. Our whole family did it just as like an activity for Christmas time. And it was an eye-opener to see like exactly, it explains your personality, but then it also explains the ideal careers for you and people in history and what they did and matching up to those personalities. And I think that's just helpful for anyone looking for jobs of like figuring out what your strengths are and not just trying to like apply for anything, which is what I did when I was first trying to find a job in the marketplace. But
Yeah.
definitely a fan and a believer in personality tests like the DISC profile or the Myers-Briggs. And so going back to when I originally introduced you, I mentioned like somehow you balance work and life besides a 4-day work week. And I'm sure this question is relevant for just real estate agents or any entrepreneur. How do you balance and turn off work? Especially like for me, I have Slack on my phone, and so I could still get notifications overnight. Like, how do you balance that and turn it off and have time for your family and your hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, Maddie.
That mom.
I mean, just like this. Maddie, I'm in a call, honey. Go to grandma.
That mom. I've seen that door before.
You have? Amazing. Probably on my phone. Go to grandma. Apparently I don't, Elena.
That's hilarious. I kind of don't want to edit that out. That was just so perfect timing.
So how do I balance it? I've gotten better over time for sure. I think when I first got my real estate license, I couldn't be controlled. Like I was taking calls at 8 o'clock at night. I was constantly on my phone. I was just excited about doing these things. And over time, I think I've just learned that sometimes I'm actually doing my clients a disservice by answering emails in the middle of the night or looking at Slack messages because I'm not fully focused on what I'm doing and I'm not like properly organized and I'm like out of my flow. So actually recently I deleted Slack off my phone and my email and Facebook. Like it was the weirdest thing.
You not get FOMO by doing that?
I do. Well, I do. So it's still a work in progress, but I actually deleted everything. And then I come into work and I'm fully focused. Like if there is Facebook notifications, I'm actually paying attention to what they are and I don't get like lost down a rabbit hole. I'm treating it like a business. And then Slack messages too. I used to just always be available, but it's kind of gets overwhelming when I'm running 20 different brokerages and I have 12 different employees that are like all pinging me at the same time. So now I really just try to set normal business hours. So one of the biggest things for me was just like when I go to work in the morning, I'm at work. Like I pack my lunch, pack my water. Like I'm at work, I don't go do laundry because I do work from home. And I really try to set those boundaries like with my staff and my clients. But then I also try to set the boundaries with my family too. So like I don't just like go out during the day and like go to lunch with friends or something like that. I try to really say, no, sorry, like I'm happy to do that on Thursday on my day off, but these are my, hours. Obviously, there's things that happen. I have to stay a little bit late or something like that, but I try really hard to set very specific boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed before I did that, one, it took a toll on my mental health of just checking Slack messages, even if it was just like we had nothing to do. We were just in the car and I was riding in the car on the way to somewhere. But my daughter's trying to talk to me. My husband's trying to talk to me. So I was getting overstimulated and I was starting to feel overwhelmed. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? You don't have to do it. And also to your point of I was making mistakes. Especially when I was answering questions at night before going to sleep, because I wanted to make sure people got their questions answered quickly. I was doing them a disservice because I made mistakes and I went back in the morning and had to fix them. And it ended up being more work than I originally thought. So yeah, I agree with that. There does need to be boundaries set with work, for sure. And so last question, if someone wanted to learn more about Stat Solutions, where should they go?
Yeah. So you can go to our website, statssolutions.com. We have some information on our services. We also have a bunch of videos on there. And then really the best way is just scheduling a consultation with me. They're free. The link in our contact us just goes directly to my calendar. I love helping. So if we're not the right solution, I'm happy to direct anybody to someone else or kind of give them some tips. I have plenty of clients that are like, okay, I'm not ready for Stat Solutions yet, but I'm going to work on these 5 steps that Jennifer gave me first, and then I'm going to come back. And I think that's fun. Like I love seeing people's businesses grow. And probably the easiest way, this is the one thing I have not deleted off my phone, is Instagram. So Jennifer the Realtor, pretty easy to find, or Stat Solutions. If you DM me, it goes straight to me. Pretty easy way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate your time to share more about your business and yourself. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.